If you haven't already, it's really worth watching my video on what a data model is, and in particular, how it works within an application. This video will center around applying that knowledge. So at the moment, I've got two screens running. On the left is a new application called Stopwatch. On the right is where I've downloaded my clock model. So this is available within the lesson plan, and you can just download that to your downloads folder. To add this file to your project, you simply click and drag it across into your project, making sure to put it into the folder for this particular application. So let's drop it there. We need to make sure that this file will be copied to our project. If we don't tick this box here, copy items if needed, this will become a reference to the clock model in our downloads folder. It won't add this file to the folder with the rest of our files for our application. So if you don't tick this box and don't make a copy, if this file gets deleted out of your downloads, it'll be deleted out of your project also. So we really want to make sure that you tick the box, copy items if needed. So I'll finish, and it's now been added. Since this application no longer needs the downloads folder, I'll just close that off. Okay, so I've got a preview on the right, code on the left. As always, bring down my squiggly brackets, and let's have a look at the model. So the model has a whole heap of properties, which are our variables. Published means that they will change the view when they are modified. So if the current date and time changes, it'll be published to the time on the screen, so how it's displayed on the screen. Don't worry about things like private. That just means you can't access them in your content view. They are still existing. They're not private or disappeared or something you're not allowed to see. It's actually just can't be viewed or used within our content view. As you can see, I've got a couple of functions in here. This function will start the clock, start a stopwatch, various different things. We're not going to worry too much, but we will go down to the extensions. Now the extensions is where I've given additional functionality to existing types. So for integers, for example, I want a leading 0 in front of the number. So for the time, it might be 14:05 rather than just 14:05, 2:05 rather than just 2:5. So it puts the leading 0 in. Similarly for doubles, we don't want all the decimal places that come with doubles, so I've made little extensions where it will change double to a string and put no decimal places or to leading zeros and so forth. You don't have to worry about the model at this stage because we're simply applying the model in this video. So with our model, I need to go back to my content view and call it. So as much as this model is a part of our project, we aren't able to actually access any of the properties until we actually create a variable calling that clock. Now, as I said earlier, observed objects are the same as state variables. So I need to do @observed object, as this clock is a observable object. So again, without going into too much detail with that, an observed object is the same as state. So in our text view, I can just change this to now be clock dot, and you can see all the various properties that we have for our clock. So I'm just going to throw the current date and time into our clock, but I don't want the $sign. And the current date and time is a date type, hence why I've got this error here. It says we've got a date, but I actually want a string. So I've made an extension for this, and this is what I was talking about a moment ago, where I can now go dot and I have a variety of properties and functions similar to what we made in our clock model, but I'm actually just looking for long time. So if we bring back our preview and resume, there we go. So our time is now there on the screen. That's the current time, but it's not currently updating. That's because we haven't called the function for start clock. Now we can do this in a button. However, there is a function called .onAppear perform. So when this text view appears on the screen, I'm going to go to my clock and say start clock. Done. So that's one of the methods, one of the functions. I have to put my squiggly brackets in here. There we go. So that's one of the functions inside of the clock model. They're known as methods. So if I hit play, that will now rebuild it again. And when it appears on the screen, it will start the clock and update the time.